don't remember asking you a goddamn thing.
So you know somebody doesn't respect you. They listen to reply, not to be understood. They cut you off. They minimize what actually matters to you. They laugh at your boundaries, and then they call you sensitive when you try to hold the line. They show up late, they cancel last minute, forget the things you've told them, because in their world, your time, your energy, even your voice aren't a priority. They're just an option. You see, there are two kinds of people. Those who adjust when they realize they've actually hurt you, and those who expect you to adjust so they don't have to change. You don't need to be disrespected loudly to be disrespected deeply. Sometimes you'll see it. It's just in their tone, in their patterns, in the silence after you're known. Respect isn't what they say when they're watching. It's how they act when they think you'll tolerate it.
The flow insane, take my spot, so the range. Shoot my shot with perfect aim. 3rd degree, that perfect flame. Ain't no sleep, that's the game. Oh, so southern, that's the slang. When they see me, that's the main. Chasing checks and fly like planes. Big old stick, I bought a cane. Flick my wrist and bought the ring. I'm so boss, we're not the same. Paid the cost and kept the change. Now I'm walking Hall of Fame. And I reside in the cloud. Grand wishes with these bitches. Taking pictures with the crowd, and I'm out.
Yo, 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 yo. What up, what up, what up, what up? Peace and blessings, glory, praise, and honor to the Most High. Happy Thursday, good people. I hope all is well with you. Shout out to my poets, writers, content creators, producers, actors, dancers, choreographers. What's the word? What's the word? You see the title. I got a clip I want to play for y'all. We got another one of those. Do you think there would be a cap on it? It ain't. Just a revolving door. And I hate it. I really do. Trust. I wish I could be anywhere else other than here, but it must be done because there's not a lot of people talking about it. And even though the algorithm be on bullshit, I'm still going to speak on it. Jerard Jackson deserves a voice. And if nobody's going to be a voice for him, I will. I got something that I want to play for y'all. Once this brother gets his bars off, I can't even. Let me see. How do I pronounce this? It's Guru Jin or something like that. It's GURUXEN. For anybody who wants to lock in with him on TikTok. I was scrolling. He's the one who put me onto it, so here we are. Let me bring this up on the big screen. And yeah, let's go ahead and get this show started. And I'm gonna share my 2 cents, and we're gonna close out.
Black people don't hang themselves. And yet another one. And this was over a week ago, and I'm just now seeing it. Jerard Jackson, 28-year-old black man, was found dead on June 30th in Rothbury, Michigan, outside the Electric Forest Festival, a festival that he attended with his white friend. Are we surprised? No. The police say he left the festival at 10 a.m. Troopers had been out there earlier that morning after he reported an alleged criminal incident involving his white friend. But of course, they're not specifying what the crime was. And his friend, Connor Prettyman, posted in the music festival's group chat that morning asking if anyone had seen him. In my mind, more than likely trying to cover his tracks. And his friend is saying that he was having a mental health crisis, even though he had no mental disorders, confirmed by his mother. And that same friend and the other people that he hung out were known to use hard drugs, which is more than likely the crime that Jerard was reporting. And of course, as usual, it's ruled a suicide. They found him about 100 to 200 yards away from his rental car, with the passenger side door and the driver's side door both open. Now, his stepdad and his auntie both were like, yeah, that's bullshit. That's not what happened. The kid didn't have his phone or his keys, and his family knows he's directionally challenged, so he don't go nowhere without his phone because he don't know how to fuck to get around. And they're ruling it as a suicide, but his stepfather says that his bank account was indicating that someone had tried to log into his account, and the alert was timestamped for 12:01 p.m. on Monday, 2 hours after he disappeared. Why could that be? You know, it's crazy. It's like every time black people go somewhere with white people lately in the United States, they come up missing and end up dead. And then it's ruled as a suicide. I will say it till I'm blue in the fucking face. Black people do not hang themselves. But these white people sure do have a historic tendency to do it. Y'all be safe out there.
Sensational.
First of all, a moment of silence. This is for the parents, team leaders, big brothers, big sisters, uncles, aunties. The landscape is extremely fertile, and it's very unsafe for your loved ones. You are playing with a dangerous, dangerous game. Max, I see you in the studio. You guys are playing a dangerous, dangerous game. And if you don't take heed, this might end up being your situation as well. Max, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on, dude? I was watching it on TikTok before I got on here and a friend FaceTime me. You're talking about Jackson, right? Who was found hung?
Correct.
I gotta be honest. Because I was watching it, like the guy said that black people don't hang themselves, and uh, there's one question I do have, but I maybe we should say it for after live. Like I know that there is a statistic of men off themselves, and I know that there's a pattern. But once he said that black people don't hang themselves, I'm just like, why are you so convinced that nobody would ever do that? A lot of guys specifically, there's a statistic of a lot of suicides from men specifically. And I know that, yeah, like the situation with him having, white friends and the guy talking about like whenever black people with white people are hanging out with white people, they always end up missing or dead. I'm just like, maybe I got to look up myself. Like, is this happening that much that because that statement doesn't help um with the division issue that people seem to be talking about. Like, I know that there is still a huge group of people that will, still have the need to like treat people of a different race a type of way horribly and everything. But it's like a lot of us always sometimes have a bit of segregated feelings towards each other sometimes. Um, because from a spiritual lens, that doesn't sit well with me to be saying like, because then that generalizes it, and like this topic sometimes feels it can feel repetitive when I run out of stuff to say, especially because I'm like, I always tell people to just turn to Christ because I can't suggest anything else. But I don't think it's good to generalize something when like if there's something I'm not seeing, then forgive me, people, but I don't think it's safe to generalize things because then when you do that with everything, then you're always going to have the division that the same people complain about. I and I'm not, and forgive me if I'm triggering you, brother, in any way. It's just that I've been profiled before. Um, I've been it is very for me. It was at the very least very annoying. I'm just like three different occasions for something for the same thing. I'm just like, who do I look like that y'all think I did this? So like that situation with the kid, from what I heard, it's to like, yeah, like, know who you're hanging out with. Definitely pay mind to who you're hanging out with, but don't generalize either. Um, because that doesn't that I being general adds fuel to a fire that you guys are trying to put out.
I agree.
Yeah.
Um, for couple reasons. One, it is a exhausting and repetitive conversation. For me, mostly because I know it's not going to stop. He just doesn't matter how many panels, how many intellectuals collectively sit down and discuss it. Depending on how you look at this, I'm looking at it from more of a spiritual side. What we're watching is destiny unfolding, prophecy revealing itself. So if you really don't take the time out to be in the word, what you're looking at is probably gonna look differently to you than it does me.
Yeah.
And so while you're probably shocked at it, I'm not. I anticipate that it's going to happen,
I'm not
but
shocked.
like
Yeah.
also, I'm not one to generalize or put handcuffs on certain groups of people because of like, oh, this person is known for doing that, and yeah, that does have its own argument, but there are people outside of the majority that actually do things to these extremes. It's just not something that's very, it's not very common, if that makes sense. So yeah,
Mm.
there are people outside of our complexion or in our genealogy that they will unalive themselves with ropes and all. You just don't hear about it, or it doesn't get discussed a lot, or it's just not that many that do it, but it happens. As far as this case, as I was saying at the beginning, them family dinners when you're sitting at the table with your loved ones, you have to stop withholding tough love and stop putting boundaries on the level of conversation that you can have with your people, so they don't go out here half cup empty, half cup full. You know, it's sad. It's sad to even be on this, but you see it so often. How can you ignore it?
Yeah. I think it's just it's part of desensitizing. I think that's why it's like look like I think it's because like I have friends who we used to a couple of me and friends were like we used to be like into politics, but after a while you see where it's like it's not a hill to die on anymore. It's not where like even when you look at scripture, you when you pay attention to the four gospels where Jesus is talking, you kind of get a general understanding of like the fact that sometimes you got to know what's worth making evil sense, but it's the sense where like I'm going to draw a line in the sand, and you're gonna see who you know the sacrifices that come with following me. It's not that now it means that there's great benefit to being a follower of Christ, but there's going to be a division. Like you're gonna see people, go against each other. Like if he's calling me to go somewhere else, my mom wants us to go somewhere together, but Jesus is like, no, go this way. She might be upset about it, and I have to learn to just listen to him and not her. That kind of example. Um, but you see a type of division where it's like when it comes to how this guy's talking, um, like sometimes there's little comments that like I get the frustration, but at the same time, it's driven also by propaganda that's enforced a lot. Like don't don't let influences make you fall into the category where you end up becoming a victim mentality because there are plenty of people who like it's not to ignore the issue, but it's the fact to know like what what is worth putting your energy into, what brings you peace, not in the sense where like you're comfortable with the chaos in the world, but that you don't let it hurt you so much that you're not able to enjoy life. Like sometimes the news is driven to scare you, right? But then when you step outside, life doesn't seem as bad. If you really think about it, the news makes life scarier than it needs to be. Are there things that do happen? Of course. But the fact that they only fixate on the things that drive people to like to a strong emotional intensity and not in a good way, that's a propaganda. Like learn to focus on things of Christ that he tells us to, because even he says that like you're gonna know when to just dust people off your feet, when to just, you know, let things go. Like some things are worth making an argument for, some things are not. Because you're gonna see who's gonna listen and who's not. Know what hill to die on. Because things for his sake are gonna be worth it in the long run. But even he will tell you like, you know, you're not gonna win everything. If they hate you, it's because they hated me first. So like don't don't pour your energy into winning an argument or dealing with something that is just going to be an ongoing battle. Like I know that today, like okay, like what's different between fighting for faith and fighting for you know injustice? I would say that's something to bring to prayer then, because it is true we should care about we should care about what's going on with the, especially with this kind of stuff where like you're seeing that now, especially where that falls into where people are like, because of Trump's comments himself, he has put that out there where this has become okay now. And the tricky part is that yeah, his comments have influence because of who he is now in the world of media. And at the same time, it's like what people make an argument for is like how much of that is his doing versus just the other side pushing the agenda because they don't have their way going anymore. Like he will have his administration will have its flaws as well as the Democratic Party, but then how much of that is his doing versus Democratic Party trying to only give you the image of what they want you to see in him also, because people will have two sides of a different story. There'll be some people will be like, no, he's chill, he rattles, he rambles, but he's chill. Others will say, oh, he's disgusting, he's this, but it's like, are you saying that because of what you see on media or what you see in person? Film can be very manipulative, but that's the argument. Like I could say that, but it's not going to be worth arguing for all the time. It would be more peaceful to say, follow Christ, ask him what he wants you to do, ask him for peace, whatever, bring your problems to him, surrender it to him, and over time you'll see things change over time because that's going to give you peace. Our life is a dot on the line compared to eternity. And if you feel in your heart that like if you feel like, look, I care about injustice, I want to be effective in this area, bring that to him. Because there are brothers and sisters who like, yeah, they go into the forest that helps deal with that stuff. Who knows? It might just because you have Jesus on your side, you might have more effectiveness in that area just because of that. Because sometimes we can have that feeling, but it matters what spiritual backup you got you. Because if you don't have Christ, it's not the same thing. It's not the same vibe. You're just following an emotion rather than a calling. I believe that yeah, sometimes being effective in the injustice is working within the system to change the system, but make sure it comes from a place of a Christ-centered heart, because you're not gonna be able to stay balanced otherwise. And it's not to diss anyone that's not Christian. It's just saying like you don't leave room to be vulnerable to things that don't need to be influenced. You know what I mean? I know it was a long rant, but it's just
Nah,
it needed to be said.
Wasn't a rant. It needed to be, and I agree, which is one of my greatest desires is to see discussions like this matter, and they're just not from a place of it's a click rage bait type of a hook or title to draw people in so that they can pick sides and start race wars or facilitate uneducated thinking pieces that's just based off of your feelings and emotions at that particular moment. We know that there are a lot of what's the word I'm looking for, heart wrenching misfortunes
Hmm.
that fall upon us on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And it's how we maneuver with them that will really give more of an impact, a more positive or negative one than anything else. I heard the story, I processed it, and all I could think of, all right, how am I going to approach this? Because again, it's our revolving door. Every time you scroll, it's something like this. You probably don't see it as much as I do because I spend most of my day doing this. So I'm always running into the violence,
Hmm.
the sexual immoralities. But because I do that, I have a stronger urge to facilitate discussions around those areas because I know that everybody who has a microphone and a camera is not going to shoot from the same angles as I am or
Yeah.
you. And so that's why we're here now. It's not, for me, it's not even trying to conjure up a new way of discussing it. It's just letting the people know, look, there are parts of the world that refuses to cover this stuff. I'm not one of them. I think it matters. There's stories that only hit local news that never see the light of day, and the algorithm doesn't care about any of that. And that's where I step in. I don't care about the algorithm. I care about the root issue within the story, And like I said, I agree with what you said. What you said needed to be heard, and reverberated. So I don't know, man. I definitely think prayer, a lot more prayer needs to be taking place. A lot of this stuff is out of our control.
Hmm.
We can only do but so much. But if we had a stronger prayer life, I think that would go a long way.
Definitely would. You'd be surprised. Prayer is very powerful. You'd be surprised. Like when enough people pray, you see it. You see it shift. Even in the areas that people complain about now. Like even in politics, prayer alone could shift a lot, but you gotta be praying for the right things. When you pray for evil things, that's not good. That doesn't end well. Pray for good things because not necessarily selfish things, but good things. Like not that you shouldn't ask for things for yourself, but also like for the benefit of others. Like our soul salvation is going to matter the most. I was told, and I think I've said it on here before, so I don't mean to repeat myself if I am, people, but what happens here on Earth to a degree is not going to be the biggest matter. It's going to be where we gonna end up when this is over. Because eternity has two places for us. It's heaven or hell. And obviously, yes, our earthly consequences play a factor in our reputation, but who you trust your soul with is what's also going to matter. And if you're going to turn away from any evil ways that you have, there are people in the Bible who committed things that sound like the Zodiac killer. and they became one of the most influential followers of Christ that today get quoted in the Bible, that are in the Bible for a reason. One of the best marriage advice comes from a man who wanted nothing to do with marriage. He said, you know, he said, look, from my personal perspective, it is best to stay single because you could serve the Lord all the time. You won't have no other obligations that tie you to earthly duties aside from Him. But if you have a burning desire, it is best to marry than to die burning with desire, because you're going to be falling to temptations. Marriage is not to say that it's not to say marry for sex, but seek the Lord for preparation, so that way that strong area is not left to vulnerable places that will harm you as opposed to benefit you. Marry for the right reasons, and but keep in mind that your service gets split between the Lord and your earthly duties as a husband or wife, because that's a covenant from God. That's why it's a good blessing, because it's like you lead each other the best way possible towards Christ. And if if you're doing healthy compromises for each other, that's a way of serving Him, because they're gifts from Him. This is your woman of God. This is your man of God. Serve each other in my name and seek me together. So things like that, people have the opportunity to be redeemed. If you feel like you are always angry at politics all the time, if the mere name of somebody, like say Trump, instant anger, try to take a minute. Why does that automatically trigger you? I know that politics affects our earthly life, but after a while, it ain't healthy. Think about your mental health. Why does the name trigger such an angry feeling? Now that in the last 10 years, why that name alone? The minute the dude steps into a platform. I'm not saying we should, love him to the T like everyone else does, but think about, we can only control our reaction to things. We can't control other people like that. If you feel a type of way every single time, there's something there that is not being checked for yourself. Take care of yourself in the healthiest way. But don't let self-care turn into selfishness either. Because that's where you fall into the chapter of the Bible where it says the day, people will become lovers of themselves as opposed to lovers of God. And, I get that, we're trying to just protect ourselves. But it's about finding a healthy boundary, just find your peace for yourself, but don't do it to the point where you don't leave love for other people. If people say that they're Team Jesus, really look into what that means. It doesn't mean that you gotta don't be a cult mentality either. But just take time to study what that actually means to be on His team. Because He loves everyone, but He's not gonna condone everyone's behavior. It takes a character arc. Becoming a follower of Christ is a character arc. You come as you are, but you have to surrender your soul to let Him transform you. And it's not, I will not lie, it can be very painful, and I could tell you from experience. But in the long run, I know that at the very least, there's a happy ending one way or the other. So I mean, look, care about what happens in the world, but don't do it to the point where you're not even okay. Because the world's going to do whatever it wants. What you do is up to you too. It's up to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that part is very important.
Yeah.
There was something that I was going to add on to that. You definitely you have to have a balance of a prayer life and understand no matter what happens here, seen or unseen, we all will eventually have the answer for it. You might get away with it here, and I've said this before. That don't mean you've gotten away with it at all. Whether or not you got done wrong by somebody or you've done wrong by somebody. Everybody has the answer for their participation. With stories like this, that's all I can think of. Y'all go out of your way to cover up, bribe, paint narratives, evade. What you're thinking too worldly. You guys, I can tell that you're stuck in this shell. You don't see beyond this. There's a realm that we are currently in the middle of where there's literally a war going on for our very soul, a constant battle. And I did a live stream on it where they did like a reenactment of what it would look like if you could actually see what was around you in the spiritual sense. Have you? Yeah. People think it's a joke. It's not. You on the bus, there's something next to you. You standing face to face with somebody, there's something standing next to them or you. Good or bad. It all really varies. But it's very real. And I even gave my own personal testimony to what was shown to me. It's not a joke. I have my feelings and my opinions towards the injustices. But I know a lot of it is out of my control. But I know who has all control, which makes it easier for me to sleep a little lighter. Even though it weighs on you to a certain degree, I give all of that to the creator because I know he's gonna eventually handle it one way or another. So it's like I want to be as much involved with showing that I care as I can without burning myself out like you was kind of alluded to. I don't know if this was the doings of the Caucasoid. I don't know if this was something else. I know the truth will eventually be revealed. Justice will eventually. One thing that you can guarantee, justice will be served. It don't matter if it's on heaven or on earth. I think most of us just want to see immediate results. It don't always work like that.
Yeah, sadly. And I get it. We all want instant gratification. Some areas it makes sense. I don't know if there was more you were going to say. Sorry.
No, I guess my only question to you is, what do you like? What? Go ahead.
No, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, what do you say to people who are been bombarded with this? These aren't just, you said something earlier. Well, if I didn't, I might not see it as much. But in the last 2 years, I've covered at least 10 to 15 different stories of black kids being hung. So it's not just a random every so often in a blue moon type of a deal, you know.
Yeah.
What do you say to people when they're constantly bombarded with them type of stories, and it always falls back to his statement?
Take a break from it. Change your algorithm. It doesn't, like, it's not to say that don't care, but it's like, if you're gonna do something about it, do something about it. If it's just part of your doom scrolling, don't watch it. Get rid of it. If it does nothing good for you. We got too much stuff going on. This alone is already overstimulated as far as the phone goes. Like, just the device, and people will tell you, like, there's a reason why nostalgia is very hard right now, because you see the effects of every generation. Like, a lot of people are like, yo, we could go back to the 90s for a week or whatever. I've seen guys on YouTube that experiment. One guy spent a week acting like it was the 80s. He thought everything 80s technology. He was jonesy for 3 days, but 4 days in, he was like adjusting. Granted, he had the luxury of being able to, live in a place where he could still, do stuff like it was 1985, but phone stuff like that. But um, it was, he saw the reward in that. I was like, whoa, like, this isn't as stimulating. It's healthier. Like, take a break from that stuff. Take a break from modern day stuff. There are guys who literally, someone close to me shared a thing that said, like, the guy took off social media to focus on God, because it's like you need a break from all this stuff. If you just spend time, if you're wondering why God is the way he is, spend time reading the Bible. Get a version that you can understand. If you have questions, ask a Christian or look for documents that back it up. There's actual evidence, historical evidence that backs up the things that happen in the Bible. There's not stories; those are stories that actually happened in history. Like, the splitting of the Red Sea. The carriages are in the water, in the same place that the Bible describes happened, where the Red Sea was split, and Pharaoh's people went after Moses and the others, and they end up consumed by the water, because God's like, no, you're not coming through here because you're trying to harm my people. And the wreckage is still in the water. Spend time with Christ, because, and take a break from other stuff, and take a break from what's hurting you. That's all I gotta say. Give me a second here. Bro.
I just want to send my thoughts and prayers and my condolences out to every single person out there that is going through something similar to this, or even in this case. I don't wish this on nobody, not even the worst of the worst. Get in the word, pray a little more, change your community, restructure your brain and your outlook. I don't know how heavy this is on your heart, but you can get through it. Nobody should have to bury their kid. But I believe there's a testimony and a message in everything. I want to give a shout out I'm gonna give a shout out to the brother who gave his perspective. We'll give a shout out to everybody who is voicing their opinion, who's not allowing that child's voice to go unheard. For everyone who is continuing the conversation. A shout out to Max. A shout out to everybody who will watch this video back. We got to do better. We got to keep growing. We can't stay stunted in our faith. And that's pretty much it. If you got anything you want to say before we close out, you got the floor.
I would say I am sorry for those that have to deal with this every day. I know that the statistics are higher than what we know, and I don't mean to sound like numb to what's going on. It's just, people who, everyone knows that, like, once you've gone through something that's so crazy all the time, you naturally feel like you're becoming numb to things, and it's not because you don't care. It's just because your body has reacted differently over time to it. So, like, I have compassion for what's going on, but at the same time, it's like, seek the one who will help you in the long run, because it's the only advice I can give. It's all I got. Because just seek wisdom from the Lord. Pray for your enemies, and as hard as it is, forgive them. And move forward in a different direction that can bring spiritual peace to things. Sorry for the family that has to deal with this, and for other families who have their kids or loved ones being the victims of something that should have died with Jim Crow, but hasn't. I will pray for y'all, and I just pray that y'all find salvation from the Lord, because He's going to be the ultimate healer. That's all I got.
You guys have a blessed week. Friday is right around the corner, so y'all be safe on the road. If I don't get to chop it up with y'all, enjoy y'all Saturday, Sunday. Do me a solid before you go, if you don't mind.
What's the goddamn button?
Y'all be easy.
That'll be easy.
The flow insane, take my spot, soak the range, shoot my shot with perfect aim, 3rd degree, that perfect flame, ain't no sleep, that's the game, oh so southern, that's the slang, when they see me, that's the main, chasing checks and fly like planes, big old stick, I bought a cane, flick my wrist and bought the ring, I'm so boss, we're not the same, paid the cost and kept the change, now I'm walking Hall of Fame, and I reside in the cloud, grand wishes, with these bitches, take